What up, gang? It's KenZerk, KenZilling, Ezekiel Milligan, the villain feeling Trilligan, and we are back on Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. This is probably going to be the last episode of the first game because I plan on finishing all 3 trials right now. I know y'all noticed something a little different about your boy. I got glasses. These aren't actual glasses. These are like blue light glasses. I'm sure I've complained about it a few times, but I do have sensitive eyes, and as much as I record and edit, my eyes be hurting like a bitch. So I got these glasses to help, and I know I look a little goofy, but you know, bear with me. I'm a cutie, so sooner or later, once y'all get used to it, y'all gonna be looking like, damn, this nigga's sexy. But let's get back into this shit. February 25th, 9:47 a.m. District Court, defendant lobby number 2. This is the defendant lobby, all right, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where should she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Oh, Edgeworth. Edgeworth! Knowing you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the all 7 ID number is, that is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True? Not yet. In any event, once all doubt is removed from this list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Sky will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright? This is it. If I'm ever gonna find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, you been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, what exactly is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she can speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Haven't heard what she intends to say. I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. What's this all about, defendant? I'd like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! You can't! Your Honor, the defense's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has a right to self-representation. The request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for this verdict has arrived. The court finds the defendant. Don't fucking do that. Thank you, Edgeworth. One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, huh? I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes? Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me you struck some kind of deal. It's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, huh? Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. Huh. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. To whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. You'll live to regret this, mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness, state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it is most certainly relevant. Well, okay then. Sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. Got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. You know what I think this is? The reason he's so confident is because he knows that we're gonna figure it out. He's betting on us. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes. She was second in command under Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever. Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Skye used to be quite a pair. I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. Alright. Raised up his knife and stabbed him in the chest. Let me look at his autopsy again, because I don't remember if that's what happened. Stabbed in the back. Yes, it does! No, no, no! It definitely does! Raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It says Neil Marshall was stabbed in the back. Alright then. I guess I just gotta hold it. Just gotta press everything. A man. Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky in Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant, and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. I almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assumed that would also be why he was first to run after Dark. When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened after then, but... Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out. Wait a minute. If it was pitch black in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right, but just as lightning flashed again outside, that sudden flash left an unforgettable image on a scene in my mind. I see. I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. The victim. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw. Yes, but at the time the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. Yeah, I think she mentioned this before. This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honor. Here we go. Right here. This is it. Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence. Bro, leave this man alone. Why are you making him look like a villain? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. I'm just saying. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for this case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold! This is the evidence list for the SO9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over. Oh, what's this? Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew. Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What? Order, order! But Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor, are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more than a drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing! That's that thing! That thing that was dancing in the evidence room! Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Very well, witness, will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh yes, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at that picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image into your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may begin its cross-examination. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Sky. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should have still been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? So at the time you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who I came to your rescue. No, I couldn't see him clearly. The light was so bright and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. Poor Emma, I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture, he wanted revenge. He was trying to get revenge because we made him seem like a mean guy. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course, this is the exact scene. It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. You better watch out or he might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me. Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture? Huh? Oh, well, that's strange. She claims it's exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. Maybe this is when I use the autopsy? Is this when I use the autopsy? Yeah, because he was stabbed in the back. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it like it was yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? Is it this? Will this work? Just because the drawing stinks. The act of making an innocent girl cry should warrant the death penalty. I mean, where am I supposed to click at? The issue is that it's not going towards his back, right? Maybe I click the knife? I don't know. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see the tip is broken. That's the contradiction? Not the fact that he's about to stab him in the chest? I guess that works. I mean, that is a contradiction too, so... If you look closely, you can see the tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. The murder weapon, its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. It was a conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound in the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Oh, what's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Why would the broken piece be found in his heart then, nigger? Nigga, I'm sorry. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. It was broken off. Exactly, if it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right, but what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is that the witness's memory was mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times to make sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Order, order, order! Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It's my belief that somewhere in this story there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? That's a big ass knife right there, shit. If I remember correctly, somebody said something about like the knife wound not actually fitting or some shit like that. But if they were in Gant's office, it's very possible that he just didn't have a weapon on him. So he stabbed him with that knife right there. So I think I'm gonna go with that. Emma's mistaken. There is another one. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding? That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order, order, order! Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh? And why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, the man raising the knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh! But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait, I remember now. I remember everything. Witness, Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list. This one, that picture scribbled on the back. I knew it. This picture, I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honor. Now the knife mix-up and now the blue badger. This would be interesting. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may begin it. Stop, please! Don't pursue this any further! Lana, what's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Skye. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Seems we're finally getting close to the core of the matter. Emma's recollection. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked. Okay. When you say that man, I assume we refer to Joe Dark? Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So then you... Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. He seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. So that means, if this is true, then that means Emma is the reason why Marshall was killed. She inadvertently got him killed. What do you mean you think? It all happened so fast and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it was kind of a blur. Miss Sky was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with a knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next? Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I had seen him somewhere before. Now I finally remember. Oh brother, just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, were you in the room? Did you see him dancing? Where in the room did you see him dancing? His shadow. So you mean you didn't actually see his face with his winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. It had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it that Emma saw? Who is this Blue Badger? I have an idea, so let's see. Okay, it isn't that. Could it possibly be the vase? Let's save. I'm a little low on trust. I just might know. The Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there was indeed something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright! In this room. Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious Blue Badger look-alike. The mysterious Blue Badger was in fact this. But that's... what exactly is that? I believe it's some kind of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the Blue Badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. I'm thinking something. Maybe I don't need to like worry about that broken piece. I just gotta do, yeah, this, it's this. I wasn't supposed to worry about that broken piece. That's not right either, okay. I don't see how this isn't it. Like, this has to be it, right? That has to be it. How is that not, that looks just like it. Does that not look just like it? I'm not about to waste my time on dumb shit. I fucking know that I'm right. Any other answer than that is fucking stupid. I'm about to search this bitch up, and I swear on fucking everything, bro. I swear on y'all lives, dog. I'm about to search this bitch up, and I swear on y'all lives, if it look anything like what I fucking put there, I'm beating the shit out of my dick. I promise you. I'm gonna beat the shit out of y'all too. I'm playing this fuck ass game. Look at this shit. Exactly what I fucking put. This game is stupid. I knew I was right. They trying to fuck me. Now it wants to work. All right. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be. Order, order. The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing is actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? It would have to have taken place in here, right? Yeah, we know exactly where the murder took place now. The location. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in the picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on the shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have to gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out, did you? Though this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In that next instant, the jar was hit and fell through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? Well, that would have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? Ah! That's the suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes, there's another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility. Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorized, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! Damn. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. How did you get out of prison? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're gonna have to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove with evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. Certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Huh. Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one manner or another. That's impossible. Well then, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? Think back to the court record. The murderer's name and the victim may have left behind. More or less, I have an idea of what it is. I think it's a piece of cloth. But, you know, let's just check around a bit. It could also be this. It could be this. Let's try this. Let me save though. It's in the evidence. The message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There's only one thing we seek, the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us this piece of evidence. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone forgot and this is just a jar. A message was left here on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. Looks like someone wiped away the blood. Yes, but notice, for some reason the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there's a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is that these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used a few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal the message. Only one thing the victim could have written, his murderer's name. What do you think? I came up with this message. Yes, I feel I'm teaching handwriting to a student with all thumbs. Make him write out, I won't do it again 100 times. I never was much good at handwriting. Guess I'll check the court record. What kind of message? I wrote it! It said Emma! I put the E the wrong way, I'm stupid. I put the E the wrong way. I put the E the wrong way, I'm sorry. That's my fault. I put the E backwards. I wrote a 3. I'm actually stupid. I felt like something was off about the E, but I was like, I'm probably tripping. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So you think this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind? Let me save right quick, bro. I'm on my last life. Thanks to that fucking Blue Badger shit. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. See, Worthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant. Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used false evidence to ensure his conviction. Objection! But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer, that's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice? What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. You might have sentenced an innocent man. How can he stand there like it's not his fault? Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial headed, no one knows. Now, all we really need to do is prove... Next, we need to prove that Lana didn't actually do it. And then we need to prove that it was Chief Gant that... Next, we need to prove that Chief Gant is using this to blackmail Lana. And then after that, we need to prove that Chief Gant is the murderer. And I think everything will, come together for us. February 25th. Okay. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Huh. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. Oh, we're not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana's having you run errands again? Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give this to you if there was any break in today's trial. Evidence law. Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know there are 2 rules of evidence law. Okay, yeah. The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said, if you're planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book. Him. Guess I need to give this book a thorough read. It looks like this book could do you any good now, though. All that's left is the chief prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, detective. Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat, despite all these allegations thrown at me? Mr. Edgeworth, the real trial today hasn't begun yet. What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Scott found out she unwittingly caused a man's death? And now you're telling me you want to do more? You've got to be kidding me, pal. You're missing the point, detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. What? We're gonna expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. The inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth the witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have, struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witness. I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking and... Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. A solution. That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well, the defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The defense may now call forth the next witness. Mr. Wright. You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls to bring out the real murderer. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything? As a defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? True. All right, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Wait, is this some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to have lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, eh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant, and I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. All right, what's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh, like what? Like the role you played in all this. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that the chief of police has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons. Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has a right to refuse to testify. Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if it turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. Very well, the witness may now begin his testimony. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. The power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that when Dark was arrested? Him. He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the chief of police has the right to refuse to testify, then I better hit him hard and fast. We gotta hit him with an objection immediately. Nothing to do with the forgery. I don't have, You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery, but I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example. That's the list Emma Sky drew her picture on. This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but the piece of this jar that was sitting in your office was found inside your safe. It was found where? You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what is the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admitted then that you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect him to try to blame it on us. Let's see, was it now? A jar fragment and a list. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. They were found after Dark was convicted and they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand I'm chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Oh boy. Indeed, I believe I'll press charges so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. Alright, Aji, in return though. I know. That place, right? What are these guys, telepathic? What do you mean, that place? You could have planted them in my office. You can't prove when. They were found after Dark was convicted. They're worthless. No reason I participate in forgery. Wouldn't help me in any way. Candace is the one who murdered Marshall 2 years ago. I know he played a part in the forgery. That can only mean someone asked him to be an accomplice. Damon Gant, someone's accomplice. That sounds unlikely. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. You could have planted them in my office. Let's press. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. What? I'll have you know, back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped. Mr. Wright, what are you saying? Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry any evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're gonna need it later. Later? What are you talking about? What else? Talking about when Wright's prints are found. Yeah, if they're found inside my safe, they will prove that the investigation was illegal. I've never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery. If concealing evidence found in the crime scene isn't forgery, I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have been suddenly materialized the day after he was sentenced. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right. The chief is talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know. Come now, Righto. Think about it. How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil? I'm not sure I care for the word murder here, but in the end, the person responsible for his unfortunate demise was Emma Skye. Well, now do you see? Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there's one very large benefit you've reaped from all this. Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police. Oh! The resolution of the SO9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That itself is a sufficient motive. Oh, ho, ho! Oh, that's a good one! Huh? Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next Chief. The resolution of SO9 really sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes. He was going to be made Chief anyway. Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Gee, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? By all means, please do. You wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for you, huh? Is that right? Is that right? I'm a save, but I think I know what I have to present here. Proof that there would be something in it for you. Alright, I was wrong. Alright. Instead of being stupid, I think I'm just gonna press it. Nothing in it for you. Sorry, but there's only one person I truly care about. Yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you better think again. You're right, you don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? Point out accomplice. True, you might not help anyone out for their sake. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the Chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant. I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SO9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged his job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all this? He would be able to use chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh wait! You must mean puppet in a metaphorical sense. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you can control her. Right on, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this, that I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana. She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Just what do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? Order! I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse chief of police of blackmail and murder. That is impossible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in an easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer, is involved in this murder? Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. I see. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and better be good. Oh! The ID! ID! This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. All 7. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean? I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was all 7s. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office is in violation of regulations, and I would demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant. I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? The trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met with the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet with Chief Gant on the day of the crime. It's the list! It's the list, right? It's the list. Because he was... Alright, I have to look it up. It says this. Okay, Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Oh, okay, that makes sense. He would have had to get it. He would have had to meet up with Chief Gant to get another one. On the day of the crime, or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yeah, you are in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to, yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh, Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him. There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're gonna say next. I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait! The Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. Nah! Chief Gant, you didn't! The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose a police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright. The victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone was aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the Chief of Police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. You think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. How could the Chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, the Chief Gant used this. It has to be this. I'm gonna look around a bit first, but I'm pretty confident. Oh, the screwdriver. Yeah, the screwdriver. Okay. Yeah, the screwdriver. I was gonna use the parking stub, but the screwdriver also works because this is what he used to get Edgeworth to go to the prosecutor's office. This is how we moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Ah! I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office, but you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean the body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car! Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. Order, order, order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to this defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. It was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It was a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe... Your time's up. My time's up. Sorry, Wright, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're going to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons. Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're going to run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman, that's what you're saying, right? If you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, you think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright, Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body? Concrete proof that he did it. I don't know. I don't think I have proof. Alright, I think no proof yet is the right answer here. There's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor, at present I have no conclusive evidence. Huh. See, Aji? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your what? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Aji, I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency. What? Lady Luck. Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's only one lady who knows the real truth behind this incident. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth, another witness? In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is the testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all these questions, Lana. Raised in this trial, someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth Miss Lana Skye. The defendant, Miss Lana Skye. She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21. Her task: dispose of the victim's body in accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well, the court will now take its final recess for the day. Of 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. The court is now in Hold on. Huh? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. This isn't good. Of course, you never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. All right then, I've got a lunch date to meet. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. See, if these people were smart, that right there, they would have clearly understood that was a threat and been like, yeah, this nigga is suspicious. But unfortunately, they're not smart. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief, he's something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Don't worry, I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure, I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Could he mean Maya? Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How's he always getting upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said. But Chief, that's not a right to be casually invoked. There's certain risks to be considered. Risks? What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the Chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Oh, Emma. My fault. Emma, you're okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the Chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. You want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now, I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. We better get back, it's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait here? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Oh my goodness, all right. So, I'm gonna go in and save right here. Once again, I'm gonna take a small little break. And we're going to get back on it. Woo! Let's finish this shit up. Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand? Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you are aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, You are under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana! If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. What if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defense may now begin this cross-examination. I already know. I already know what to do. I already know what to do. Never mind. I mean, Emma does have something to do with it. We found evidence, her fingerprints, in Gant's office on a piece of cloth. But, okay, I guess that's not when I used that. I guess it doesn't have good enough correlation to what's going on right now. She could have done it alone. Okay, we've just got to press her. How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so it will be around 5 years. Detective Gant and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. She must have been good coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why. But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And... did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was a justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana. So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago. You say you did this all by yourself. Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change the statement. You mean, Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that? If it is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover her lies with more lies. All just to protect me. So, when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to. Broke off the tip of Dark's knife and planted it inside the wound. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound, and then you moved the body? But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but I ought to ask for the other's sake. Ask for the sake of others. We already know why she planted the knife. To make it look like the victim is the killer. But why did she move the body? When you showed up to the scene, where exactly did you move the body? It was where you deduced it, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Sky moved the body. Alright. I want to see what happens if I ask the other question. Why did you do that? Come now, Mr. Wright, even you should be able to figure it out. Added to the witness's testimony. There we go. Tip of the knife was found buried in the body. Tip of the knife was found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. According to your testimony, Prosecutor Marshall's broken knife was the murder weapon, right? Yes, and leaving it at that might point the blame away from Dark. I felt the most effective way to get him convicted would be having the tip of his knife found inside the victim's body. So you buried it inside the victim's stab wound. Yes, because I hated Dark for what he did. Piece of the jar, you mean? Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you look at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle. I see. What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed, but I have a feeling there's more to it than that. Contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed to this fabrication completely alone. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking at like a murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it, period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact? You're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying! She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying! It was like she determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence by herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. The jar shattered. So the question is, did the jar actually shatter? Maybe I gotta choose the jar. Maybe the contradiction is that Emma's name is written on the jar, and that's why she actually broke it. Yeah, I got it. Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered? If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I'm compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. I know what he's about to say. What my thinking was that because Emma's name was written on it, she would have had to break it herself. But now I'm thinking a bit differently now. I'm thinking a bit differently now, right? How would the jar have fell over during the struggle if Marshall, after being stabbed, after the struggle, was able to write his name on the jar? A contradiction in my testimony. You testified and I quoted. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events that in my plan. That's right. Do you have a problem with that? It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so, and this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar! Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truths towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth. Very well, the witness may now continue her testimony. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I made sure I got them all. All I could think about was cleaning them before they were discovered. You mean you were the way you wiped away the message in blood? I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier. It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case. Not as feeble as a judge's judgment. You are an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you do that for me? It seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened to chance upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came. This is rather shocking. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened. What do you mean? If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana, I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to gather anything else but gather up the pieces. But how could you see that with the power out? It must have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes. I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I've treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident. No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office. More contradictions of service in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. Figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. Alright, let's look. Immediately noticed blood traces on the jar, hot when it was dark. But it was dark in the room, didn't have time to check it out. I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I made sure to get them all. That's a lie. Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In Chief Gant's safe, but how? I knew it, she really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it. But the witness just testified. She gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them. Yes, which only leaves it with one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. But could the defendant have simply missed a piece? I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my denture. Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When the witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken. Oh, that? There was no way a name could have been written on the shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. I hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide the fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that? No! Wait, I'm not the one on trial here. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question: what is his action called? Fabrication of evidence. But why would Chief Gant do that? In light of what happened afterward, isn't it clear? What happened afterward? Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister Emma killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the Chief's puppet. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the Chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem like the type who likes to twist the truth. Have I not gotten to the undeniable truth every fucking case? Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana, maybe Wright after all. What do you mean, Wright? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Skye, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Skye, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw. Alright, the witness may testify once more for the final time. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armored sword. You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What, to me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture. Don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. I know what it is. It's probably the book. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There might be a picture in there somewhere. Oh, did I'm thinking. Oh, in here. It's in the case files. Because I did receive this from her this morning, didn't I? Or if it's not in here, it's probably in the book. I just realized I never searched the book. Hey, there's a picture here. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had rearranged everything. Mr. Wright, the piece cut out from the vest, could that be the cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe? What's this? It had Emma's fingerprints. This was a handprint. That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whoever fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma? Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Come on now, Aji. This is the poorest excuse of a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant. What, now you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'll have to put in a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be the risk that we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence? No, I don't. But someone does. Someone? So, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death? Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt? Is that true, Mr. Wright? If I show that piece of evidence now, Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. What do I do now? Better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. The one that shows who really killed her. Present it. Yes, Your Honor, I do have further evidence. Alright, the time's finally come to show it to them. Those prints have got to be the Chief's. Now then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who really murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Just thinking, let's look at this. Maybe there's something here. It's a piece of leather cloth. Yes, It most likely was cut from the victim's vest near his chest. What's this? There's a big handprint on it. Surely it must have been left on the cloth by whoever shoved the victim into the sword. What? Whose fingerprints are on this? I'm sure Wright was checked, haven't you? Well, whose are they? They're Miss Sky's, Miss Emma Sky's. What? They're mine? So I really did do it. See? I told you it was conclusive. But this was found in your safe. That means it's possible you forged it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember any cloth in my safe. Do you really expect me to believe that? But give it up, Mr. Wright. It's over. You shouldn't have presented that. By presenting that evidence. Damn. And here I thought I had to tell the truth. All right, let me lie. Let me tell a little sneaky lie. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie! Chief Gann, you opened my safe! I know you took what was inside! He admit— Oh my goodness, we had to trick him! Oh my goodness! The conclusive evidence! I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know his fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gann? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason. He's confessing to the crime himself! It looks like part of it's been cut out. You mean you had this in your safe? What? That means you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. He just confessed. Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean you admit to it? I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I should use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, then that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Sky. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dark convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. That was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe? But why? For insurance, of course. Insurance. I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for the murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence? What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood of all the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar too? Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept 1 more item for insurance. You mean the piece of cloth? Come on, Righto. Cough it up. You know whose it is. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gann, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe. Yes, I admit to it. I didn't want to have to do that being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it before it was too late. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Let me see. I don't know. Not yet? I'm thinking not yet. No. Just because he said that dumb shit. He wanted us to do it. We're supposed to. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. Alright, then let's see this conclusive evidence. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh yes, at last you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. His handprint on the leather. There must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. You mean it could not have been forged? It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. Oh, you're so slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Wright had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright, do you really know? Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well, I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. Emma Sky. What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? Oh! You're really something, Wright. You knew this girl did it all along. And you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. How could you? You monster! Miss Sky, you knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you gonna tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh, and what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was Emma Sky, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool blabbling about? I'm talking about a contradiction, one that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth. What could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. Not the badge. Evidence that contradicts the cloth. Is it the shape of it? Could it be the shape of the cloth? I'm thinking it's the shape. This is forged evidence. The shape doesn't match. Does it? Or am I tripping? And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest is cut out? Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood, that's only natural. Oh! The cloth should have blood on it too. His lungs were no doubt punctured, blood pouring out of his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth. Wait, there's no blood on it. Ah! Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on a sword at that time. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. Most likely he hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and fucking murdered him? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. The jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's cloth? Victim's vest? Ironic, isn't it? Though the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer, you bitch-ass nigga! No! It's finally all over. Oh! That was close, Wright. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. Order, order. What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Aji. Earlier, old Righto here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Righto? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair! Woo! 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 Did you actually think you could best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son! I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. What does it really matter, though? All we have to do is get him judged guilty of killing Goodman, which we know that he did. Now that we have Lana telling the truth, and now that Gant has admitted to manipulating Lana with the legal evidence, then we have everything we need to get him convicted for the murder of Goodman. And we don't need to use any illegal evidence to do that. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, true, illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Well, Mr. Wright. It seems at last, the time's come for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived. Mr. Wright, do you admit to it, that you purposefully and illegally concealed this piece of cloth? I did not. And then I'm going to present the rules for evidence. I admit I refused to present it at one point. So the evidence is illegal. No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't. What do you mean you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Aji, don't listen to his lies. He's nothing but a coward. There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well, let us settle this once and for all. Earlier you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book, the second rule of evidence law. Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence by myself inside your safe. It goes without saying I did not have the approval of the police department. Rule 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here's the crux of the matter. You see, at the time it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and DL and SL9. What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevance, you just take one look at the picture and... Sorry, but can you recall when that picture presented? That was shown only a few minutes ago. No, he's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh yes. No! It was then when you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer. And there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant! The killer was you! I knew I should have gotten rid of him! That good-for-nothing scum! But for 2 years he's been snooping around the apartment trying to get something on me! Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me! Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr to convince Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right. If evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you gotta help me. Goodman turned him down as a yada. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to see me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker, and as he was taking the evidence out, he said, "It's not too late. I'm gonna hand all this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw that accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have led only more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as a crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere. I guess I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Leaving the prosecution's car aside. How? How could you get Miss Sky involved in all this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. You took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments in the glove. Yeah, looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. The Yall did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go at it alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Udgy. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are long gone now, Udgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Wright out here. And Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodic sounds of a new beginning. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes. First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. From the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today. So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered. I'm sorry, Miss Sky, I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My, what high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows, a few years from now you might just make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky, and to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much it's been an ordeal. I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you, and yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it. I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Sky. Yes, Your Honor. You are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is that you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date. Yes, I understand, Your Honor. Is there something amusing about all this? Why are you smiling? It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains. Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Regarding the charge of murder, the court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty. That is all. This court is adjourned. At long last, it's finally over. Emma, why the long face? I'm sorry, your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted of her murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended, I can see why Mia Faye thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making the detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you called me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding. Oh, are you here because of my sister again? Nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal. Me? That's right, I thought you'd like to see someone. Lana! Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know? Well, I won't tell you if you won't. I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis, don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Gant to help me uncover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake, but now I realize I was wrong. I changed my mind after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis, I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy. Of course. You know, sis. I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma, Emma! No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in doing so, we can find the way back to our rightful path. And it is from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. At least that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe, me! Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. Where was he hiding? I just came to say, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Edgeworth! Right, well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realize today that I can't correct my mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth! Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right. You despise criminals, I can feel it, you and me. We're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor Manfred von Karma were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime on my own, I need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright. And because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright, show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. Oh, the evidence list. That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth, if you'd excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember, you can't let what happened kill the prosecutor in you. Or you can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know. It seems I owe you my thanks too, right? But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. I better be going too. Okay, but I'll be by to visit you soon. It seems we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation? It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis, I will. And so another case came to close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal. Huh? What is it, detective? There's a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. But I thought you said it was okay. Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story. Huh? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either. Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here is the one who'll be footing the bill. Huh? Huh? Well, you think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal. Huh? Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it? Suddenly feel like I want to scream. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together? Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go. I arranged for a friend trip. Hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days at the prosecutor's office. Still, I'll manage to find my way back to the field somehow. Then I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. Yikes. I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation of the chief's office. If we penalize you anymore, it'd be worse than firing you. Yep, that's what they said. It just goes to show, you can't shake me off that easily. It's crazy because, like, no matter how dumb Gumshoe is, he's actually like a really fucking good detective. No matter how stupid he is, he's actually a really good detective. There's a reason why they keep him around. My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of the Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them though. Someday I'm gonna make detective. Yes, sir. Then I can be just like that dick Gumshoe. I don't want to fucking see that thing. Get that shit off my screen. Yes! Yes! God, thank you! I fucking hate that thing! What is it? Can't you see I'm having me a showdown with a steak lunch partner? Miss Star managed to sneak this in to me. She's seeing one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, it looks like you did it. You even gave Bambina back her smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water? Mr. Kimura! I'm sorry. Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while. As a farewell gift, I put a new meal on the menu, the Right Way lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom's layer is as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. That actually sounds kind of cool. Brandon Gay. I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left. Anyway, he said he's been doing something or other for how many years? Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I'd better be... Huh? Oh no, I forgot my gavel. Sorry, I gotta go. Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objection. Still, I can't go back until I'm a full-fledged spirit medium. Mystic Maya, afternoon training's about to begin. Coming. Well, see you around, Nick. I can't let this cry. It's a sad day for Raid. I got glasses, I don't know how to act. Hold on. I got glasses, I don't know how to act. Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Edgeworth. I brought you your tea. Huh? What's going on? Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Oh, that's sweet. Oh my goodness. All right. I don't have much to say, honestly, but I have to say this. This game was very fucking enjoyable. And I really had to use my brain a lot. Oh my goodness. But this game was genius. Like, seriously, these cases were so awesome and genius. The plots and backstories. Like, when I first got into Phoenix Wright, like when I first heard about it and everything, I remember, I think it was Cub Scouts that I played it. I had a friend that was playing it. I really didn't expect much from the game. I thought it was gonna be a boring ass visual novel with reading and shit. This was before I even like got into visual novels. Like, I was still playing COD and shit. So I thought it was gonna be a boring ass visual novel with just reading and just like, you know, just boring shit. I got into it, man. Game's funny as fuck. And man, these characters are so surprisingly fleshed out. Even after like I got into visual novels, I didn't expect Phoenix Wright to be as fleshed out with its characters as it is. I really didn't expect it. It really caught me by surprise. But I really enjoyed this game. These cases were genius. These characters are fucking lovable. And oh my goodness, I can't wait to play Ace Attorney 2. And just so you know, I will be playing The Great Ace Attorney. Somebody gifted it to me on Steam, so I will be playing that after I finish this trilogy. So peace out. I love y'all. Tap into the next one.